Hi guys, this is a revision video about effective training and development as part of the Pearson EdXL IGCSE Business Studies course. So today in this revision video we're going to be recalling some of the types of training that you need to know for your exam. We'll be looking at some of the pros and cons of those different training methods, and also we'll be discussing how technology has impacted training.
So the first type of training that you might need to know about in your exam is called off-the-job training, and this is normally structured training. Could be a qualification, it could be a course, it could be a seminar, but crucially it takes place off the job. Okay, it might involve an employee going outside of the business, for example to a training provider or maybe even a university. So with off-the-job training, one of the main advantages is that it's normally provided by industry or subject specialists. So employees will leave and they'll go outside of the organisation to external companies who are providing the training, and those external companies are going to maybe offer those employees some form of formal qualification. When they get these qualifications, these staff may bring new skills and new ideas back into the business, and crucially these new skills and these new ideas may have not been present in the business beforehand. So one of the main advantages of off-the-job training is that it's provided by external companies. These companies tend to be specialists in that subject or in that qualification that they're doing, and the people doing this training can hopefully bring back new skills and new ideas to the business to further improve it. However, there are some drawbacks. The main one being it can be very expensive and it can be time consuming, because remember, the employees are doing this off the job. Okay, so during that time their productivity is going to fall, because they're going to have to move away from their day-to-day job and they're going to have to focus more on completing that training rather than doing what they're expected to do each day. So the other form of training that you might need to know about is on-the-job training, and this is less structured and it's delivered normally by a more experienced colleague as and when is required. Generally, this normally takes place during the induction process. So the induction process is when an employee first starts their job, and normally what they might do on the induction process is they might work alongside a more experienced colleague or a colleague who's done that job before. Therefore, they've got the ability to ask questions, they can see how tasks are expected to be completed, and also they can do things like job shadowing. They can see how that more experienced colleague does that job on a day-to-day basis. The plus sides of on-the-job training is that it's obviously a lot cheaper and less time consuming than going outside of the business and maybe doing a qualification. Why is it cheaper? Because it's done by an existing member of staff who's helping perhaps that new member of staff or that less experienced member of staff. Also, it gives employees real or hands-on experience. So because it's on the job, they're doing real training that requires them to do processes and tasks that they have to do in their everyday job. So it provides, especially new employees, with great experience. So therefore, when they start that job full-time, they're making less mistakes because they've already experienced what it's like to do the tasks as required in that job. The downside is that employees may have to take responsibility for providing that training. So some employees within that business, they may not feel comfortable providing that training. They may not know how to provide that training. And also they may not be able to offer training of the same level of quality that external off-the-job providers can provide. Another thing is they may also make mistakes on the job. So while people are learning and they're training on the job, they're likely to make mistakes because they're not very experienced, or they may be new to these roles or responsibilities. Therefore, it could be very costly for the business. So what are some of the benefits and what are some of the drawbacks of not training staff? Well, starting with the benefits, hopefully it improves things like quality. People and employees within that business can do their jobs better, whether that's manufacturing or creating goods, or offering services, the quality of those goods and services should improve with training. They may also be able to do their job more quickly and efficiently. They may learn better ways of doing that job, and that increases their productivity. So they're able to create, sell, or provide more services. If a firm is investing into staff training, that's likely to motivate employees, because those employees are growing as individuals. They are learning new skills in their career. They are learning new skills that can hopefully one day progress their career. So an employee is likely to feel motivated by training, and they may stay longer in that organisation. It's also good for the business, because if you train staff, especially in different areas of the business, this gives them more flexibility. So rather than doing one or two tasks, if you train your employees up in various different departments around that business, then they become more flexible. And maybe a business can make cost savings, because they won't need to hire supervisors or managers, because the workers can be trusted. They can maybe be asked to work independently without supervision. If a business doesn't invest into training staff, these are some of the drawbacks. So the most obvious one is that staff may not possess the necessary skills and knowledge to perform their jobs. And if staff are not able to do their jobs effectively, this could knock on and have impacts such as poor customer service, because they're not going to be able to respond to questions from customers. It may also result in things like wastage, because they're making mistakes when they're manufacturing goods. Another thing is, if companies don't invest into staff training, they might lose motivation. They might feel that they're not developing their skills and their qualifications with that organisation. So this is especially true for highly skilled staff. If they don't feel the organisation is providing enough training and enough high quality training, they may leave the organisation. And that in turn can increase labour turnover, which, if you've studied this subject before, can also increase recruitment costs. Another thing is, staff are very inflexible when you don't train them. Okay, they might only be able to do one or two tasks within that business. Okay, so they're not able to perform a wide variety of tasks because they haven't been trained in those tasks. So to summarise, why train employees? Okay, well, it links to their motivation. Also, it links to retention. If we train employees, we invest time into money into training and developing their skills, then they're likely to want to stay for that organisation, and that increases staff retention. It also lowers labour turnover, because less people are leaving that organisation on a year-to-year basis. Particularly important for technology companies, staff are up to date with changes. And also, it might be a competitive advantage if you have a more skilled workforce than your competitor. So think about, for example, a games developing company. The more skilled games developers may make better quality games. But how are they skilled in the first place? They may have done high quality off-the-job training. That firm might be investing lots of money into training them and developing their skills. So that could lead to something like a competitive advantage, because they're going to have the more skilled workforce, and if they have a more skilled workforce, then the quality of the goods and services they provide will be better than their competitors. Lastly, I just want to talk about technology and training. So technology, particularly over the pandemic, had a big impact on how training is done. Training is now done remotely in a lot of cases. It can be done via things like webinars, Zoom, Google Meet. And the benefits of this is that large numbers of people can access training courses at a relatively low cost, because they don't have to maybe travel to a city. The training providers don't have to rent out an expensive room. Many people can access that training course at one time using technology. However, technology can also have a negative impact on things like training, because with technological change, employees require retraining frequently, particularly in industries such as IT, programming, app developing. So technology, while it's great, lots of people can access training at a low cost through logging into webinars. Technology itself does require often retraining staff. So I hope this video has been useful, and hopefully it's recapped on-the-job training, off-the-job training, and also discussed some of the benefits and drawbacks of training.